In order to explore pivoting, we're going to need this macrodata.csv from the Python for Data Science book. We're going to bring that in with the read CSV method, and we'll look at the head of that. This is some kind of a financial document with records that go back to 1959 here, and it looks like there are 4 quarters for each year. And here's some GDP, here's some inflation, here's unemployment. So just to get an idea of what we're working with here. When this type of data is stored in a database, it's often stored in what we call long format or stacked format. And so we'll manipulate this a little bit and get this into stacked format so that you can see what we mean. Let's check the data type of year and quarter. So quarter here obviously is float 64. Year is going to be the same thing. Let me check that, and it's also float 64. But there's a method in pandas called a period index, which will take the year and the quarter as parameters, and it'll convert them into some type of a time object. Let's run this together. And here we have 1959, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And we're going to have 2009 quarters 1 through quarter 4 as well. Look at the data type here. It's called Q-December data type. We're not going to look closely at timestamp right now, but later we will, and this will come up again. Period index just combines the year and the quarter so that it looks like this. And what we're doing is we're putting this into a variable so that we can create an index out of it. So this is going to be the index for our reformatted data frame. And we're really only going for these columns, and we're creating an index out of these column names. And we're setting our existing data frame equal to this reindexing. So let's run this, and there's the format of our modified data frame. So let's work on this down below, but I'm going to do this step by step. So first we'll stack that, and it converts it to a hierarchically indexed pandas series. And we can use this reindex method, which is going to convert this back into a data frame, but it's going to give it the default zero-based index. And that level 1 index has become our previous indices plus those values. And it just gave those values a 0 as a column label. So the last thing we'll do is rename that 0 and call it value. And that's the format for this data frame that we were going for. In our next cell, we're going to actually use the pandas pivot method, and let's talk about this for a moment. The first parameter here, we're asking pandas to make this date column into our row index. This is where we identify our column index, and this third parameter is optional, and it just says, well, make this value column the values in our new data frame. Let's run this. And indeed, it's taking these 3 elements, real GDP, inflation, and unemployment. It's made those into our column labels, as we've asked it to do here, right? We named it items. These 3 labels are named item, and they become our column names. And the date here has become our row index. Of course, this is optional, and we can change it. Let's put items here, and date here. And although this will be strange because it gives us 3 rows and 203 columns, but it does behave as we expect it to behave. Let's change this back to what we had before and look at our next cell. Since we didn't create a new variable here and we didn't set in place equal to true, our original mod variable still contains this data frame. And what we want to do is add another column here called value 2. So we're just saying, create this new column called value 2 and put these random normalized numbers in there. Let's run this. And now we have another column of data. And if we run the pivot method just with the row index and the column index defined, it will give us back value and value 2 as the 0 level column index. But with this third optional parameter, we can tell it just to give us the value back. We run that, we only get the data in the value column. Likewise, we could tell it to give us just a value 2. And these are all those random normalized values that we created for value 2.